But I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, we can touch on the Celtics a tad bit. So before the season started, they made the trade for Drew Holiday, getting rid of Marcus Smart. I thought this would be probably the trade of the year. And I really think the trade of the year will depend on who wins the finals, because the Mavs can win that or the Celtics can win that. But I never thought that they would get over the hump with Marcus Smart as their point guard, because he's not a point. He's not a point. I mean, he's out there for defense. You know, he can hit the open three occasionally. But I think with Drew, Drew made the All-Star last year. Drew was All-NBA last year. You know, he averaged 20. He's a guy that you can, and he's giving you the same defense that Marcus Smart is giving you, if not better.
I was saying, I would probably go with Drew.
I would go with Drew. So, and he can be a real point guard when needed, and that's what the Celtics need, because in the finals, the run they had when they played y'all, and that whole run, even last year, turnovers were a problem for them, but that's because they don't have a point.
Right.
And so when you're relying on Tatum and Jaylen Brown to play make, that's where you're getting all these turnovers. And so, and I feel like, and especially in this series versus Golden State, it just feel like Tatum had to get it on his own against Wiggins. Nobody was there to set him up. Like, there was nobody to get him in an offense, get him in whatever set they have. And I feel like Holiday can do that. And then even in the playoffs, like, he showed it in the playoffs in the game against the Pacers. Like, he had a huge steal. Like, he just has those moments, like the steal he had in the finals versus D-Book. Like, he just has those moments where you like, that's why we traded for him. Like, we got him specifically for moments like this. And I do think this Celtics team is better than the team that got to the finals 2 years ago. Because you add 2 20-per-game scorers with Holiday and Porzingis, even though they're not as deep, especially defensively. And I don't think they're as well coached, because I don't think Mazzulla is better than Udoka. But I think Tatum has grown. I think Brown has grown a little bit since that run, even just from last year, with having a better handle. Derek White, exactly. That's all it took. I will admit, it's more crisp. Like, it was a video before the season of him like dribbling with his left hand, and he was losing it, and I was like, "Yo, this is bad." But he's like, it's better. It is better. Yeah. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on the Celtics this year?
So, I agree with everything you said about Drew Holiday.
Okay.
Something you brought up with when they played us, and he kind of had to get it on his own against Wiggins, because they didn't have a point guard to set him up. I agree that they didn't have a point guard to set him up. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not Marcus Smart's. That's not how he plays.
Right.
But, and this has been my gripe with Tatum since probably 2019. He hunts for big shot moments. And I think when you play like that, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Okay.
So, the big shot. Let's take Kobe, because that's his idol.
Yeah.
Let's take Kobe. The big shots we think about when we think of Kobe, it wasn't because Kobe was thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be such a great moment. I hit this pump, and still hit the three."
Right.
It's because game speed. He's going for a pump fake. I think it was Terrence Ross or whoever.
Yeah.
Ain't jumping. So he said, "All right, I gotta hit it. I gotta get it off." Like, and then it's like, "Oh, look at that." But for Kobe, it was. This was the best way for me to score in that moment.
This is what I do, right?
When I watch Jason Tatum, and I could be wrong, a lot of times, though, I feel like in his mind, he's like, "Oh, this is about to be nice." Sidestep three. But he'll break it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, I looked up, he's shooting 29% from three this playoff.
Yeah, this playoff run, yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. In the series versus Pacers, it was better, but for overall, it was terrible.
And back to the Wiggins point, I think he likes to play isolation basketball. He doesn't like the game to come easy to him. Mm-hmm. Like, you take a guy we were talking about earlier, KD, he'll take the easy shots all day. Mm-hmm. You leave him open, he gonna shoot it. You give him pretty much anybody on him in the post. Yeah. He don't need 3 dribbles. But all he need to do is 1 dribble fade away, because nobody could block his shot.
Right.
Jason Tatum likes to try to go in his bag. And to his credit, it's really cool when he gets it off.
Yeah.
When he hits a nice side step, or he gets a little move on someone, make him slip and hit like a side mid-range or something like that. Okay. It's nice, but my problem with Jason Tatum has been the way he plays in itself, I don't think. I mean, maybe it's to my larger point, which I was going to get to. It's I don't feel like he's impactful in the game. Like when I look at a guy like Jaylen Brown is kind of sporadic to me because he seems like he plays so hard. So like there's been games where he just be off, but he playing the exact same way as the games when he's on.
Yeah.
But to me, Jason Tatum is like when I was looking through the series with the Pacers.
Yeah.
The game where the game one where I was so upset with it. I'm not an Indiana fan.
Yeah.
I was so upset with Indiana.
Yeah.
I was like,
everybody was.
Literally less than 30 seconds, you had the 60-win team, the number 1 seed, at their home. You had the game was over.
Right.
The game was over. You just had to inbound it one time and hit a couple free throws.
Yeah.
But they had like 2 turnovers in the span of like 10 seconds.
Had goofy turnovers, dribbling the ball off their legs, like not being able to get
just crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Just crazy stuff. Like so, you have things like that, but they ended up winning overtime.
Right.
But Tatum, like, what was he, like 4 for 16 or something like that?
No, he was in that game alone. He had 36, yes, but the fourth quarter he didn't play well.
No, okay, you're right. That was my point.
He didn't have an assist.
He had 36 points, but they barely won.
Right.
And then the next game, when they won by like 12 or 15, he had an off game. Jaylen Brown had like 40 or something like that, and they beat him.
They
like,
blew him out, yeah.
Yeah. So the games, like Tatum does have good games. He'll have like a 30-piece here, or he'll have like 12 points or something like that, where he just couldn't hit nothing.
Yeah.
But either way, he doesn't have an impact on the outcome.
Okay.
Like it's always Jaylen Brown, Derek White has probably been the most impactful this playoff run. It's always other guys on the team, and I think that's been the whole thing with Tatum from the start. It's his team is so good, he cannot have a great game.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, y'all, this is gonna be the last time you come in because we recorded something. It's cool. It's fine. Yeah. So, I can't agree. As far as your point is saying, like he doesn't have an impact on the winning, I can't agree with that for a couple reasons. Number one, I can make an argument that if he plays well in the series versus Golden State, they might win that series. A lot of people blame him for the reason why they lose, or for they lost that series. And I could say him being hurt in the first, having a ankle sprain, the first possession of Game 7 versus Miami is the reason why they lost that game. So I can't necessarily say that, he doesn't have an impact on winning. What I will say is this. His motor is what kills his team. Like, he doesn't have, like, when you look at a Giannis or an Ant, like, they're on go for the 48 minutes. Tatum's not like that. Tatum has moments where he's just like, it's just like he out there. It just has moments where he like he's soft. He playing like a light skin. Like he just has moments where it's just like he there, but he not really there. And I've always said, like, if Tatum had Giannis's motor, people might look at him as the best player already because he has the talent. Like, you make a point about him wanting ISO. Like, he can score in the ISO. It might not be the smartest basketball in the world, but I do think what keeps this team from really achieving greatness is him. Just like he doesn't have the assertiveness. Like, for some reason, it's just not there. Like, in some moments, it's like, I don't really want the ball right now. Like, you brought up the fourth quarter in Game 1. That whole fourth quarter, he didn't have an assist the whole fourth quarter because he wasn't touching the ball. Yeah. Like, I'm just waiting on, like, okay, when is Tatum going to touch the ball? Like, everybody knows he should be shooting the ball right now, and he's not. And then he gets into overtime, and now he's, like, ultra aggressive. It's like, we shouldn't even been in overtime if you would have just done this. Sure. So, like, he has these moments where it's just like he just wants to take a back seat. But I do think Tatum, it's a lot of disrespect on Tatum's name. I do think he's one of the most disrespected stars. Like, if a player had done what he has done this far in his career, people will already say he's a superstar. But because of he has such a bad finals, which I agree that, like, if you have a bad finals or if you had a bad playoff series that's important and you're young, it should take a stamp on your career. But I'm like, this dude as a rookie went to the ECF and went toe-to-toe with Apex Braun for 7 games. He's been to 5 Eastern Conference Finals in 6 years. And even the year he got to the finals, what made me most upset was, like, I understand, like, yes, he played terrible versus Golden State. But let's not forget what led up to Golden State. Like, they were down 3-2 versus Milwaukee, the defending champs at the time. At Milwaukee, he had a big game in that game in the fourth quarter to lead them to win that series. Then he has a big game 7 at Miami to get them over the hump versus that team that they hadn't beaten yet. So, yes, he had a terrible finals, but we're not just finna act like this dude was just, like, scrubbing all along. And then even last year they didn't win it or get to the finals, but they were down 3-2 versus Philly at Philly. He had a big fourth quarter, and then he drops 50 in game 7. So, I just don't think, like, it seems like people don't want to put him in a superstar conversation, but I'm like, 5 conference finals appearances and 2 finals appearances in 6 years, like, and you're the best player on the team, like, that's superstar to me. But I do think he has to win this. He has to win this championship. Like, it is no excuse. Like, it's no excuse if he loses. If he loses this, really, it was no excuse that he lost to Golden State. Because I still feel like Boston was a better team, but Curry is just all-time great. So once you play all-time greats, it don't matter how good your team is.
Right.
It don't matter how good your team is. Especially, like, and that was the best. To me, that was the best I've seen Curry at. Because that Boston team, they were the number 1 defensive team in the league, and they couldn't throw nothing at him. So I can't excuse you for that. Like, you had the better team. It wasn't even questionable. Like, that was a diminished Clay. Like, Jordan Poole at times was their second best player, and we know what Jordan Poole is now. Like, no disrespect, but you should have won that series and you didn't, and you played terribly. But you have to win this, and to me, I do think he has an impact on their winning. But you bring up the points of, like, when they win and when they don't win, but a lot of that is just because he's not assertive. Like, he just doesn't have that motor. Like, I don't think there's nothing in his brain that clicks like, okay, it's go time. Like, it's go time. Like, you may have players who are facilitators like Luka or LeBron, but when they know it's time to score, like, Luka came out game 5, like, we not finna play around with y'all. Right. Like, I'm not playing around with y'all. Like, I'm coming out and I'm giving out smoke.
20 in the first
right. I'm giving y'all smoke. So I don't think he doesn't have that. But if it comes in like spurts, like, it'll come in a quarter or 2, but then he'll have a quarter where he's just like, y'all just do y'all thing, man. And I think it's similar to the KD and Russ thing, where it's like KD didn't really have the guts to tell Russ, like, bro, chill out. Like, give me the ball and move out the way in times when he needed to. And I think with Tatum, it's sometimes where I'm like, Derek White jacking up too many threes. Jaylen Brown is trying to force his way. Like, it's sometimes where Tatum used to be like, give me the ball and let's figure it out. And he doesn't have that, in my opinion.
But I think, to your last point with that, I think that comes up because it's still, even though we all go, Tatum's the best player on the team, I don't think Jaylen Brown thinks that. I think in Jaylen Brown's mind, he's there ain't nothing he could do that I can't do.
Okay.
We can line it up anytime you want. And that's been my whole thing with Boston in general. There's 2 stars players are essentially the same player, just Jay Tatum's like 6'10".
Right.
But they do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Jaylen Brown's a little better defensively too, at least on perimeter defenders.
Yeah.
But to me, that's why it's so hard for, like, Tatum to be able, even though I agree he is passive, for him to be able to go, yo, give me the ball. I don't think in their locker room it's clear, like, Jason Tatum's the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
Like, I 100% think, because Jaylen Brown plays like it. Like, to your point, when you're talking about when someone who's on go,
yeah,
whatever you want to say about Jaylen Brown, he's on go.
He's on go. Yeah, he has that.
Go
yeah,
all
he has
the time.
That. Right.
Like, when he's like, nah, we about to lock in. Sometimes he gonna dribble with his left hand and fumble it a little bit when he don't go. Other times he gonna run in and he gonna sneaky punch it on somebody.
Right. Oh yeah.
He be like, oh dang, I didn't know he.
No, he has that motor. He has the motor.
Yeah. So I think, like, I agree with you that he needs to be more aggressive, but to me, I think that plays a role in my thing about his impact on winning. Like, you can't impact the game if y'all got it.
Right.
You can't do nothing. Or even, like, maybe in that Brooklyn series 2 years ago when they beat Milwaukee and Miami in 7.
Yeah.
I saw him kind of lock in defensively on KD.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't even see him on the other side of the ball when he's not doing anything offensively be like, all right, bet, here we go. Like, I'm taking the best matchup.
Well, and because when you have Derek White and you have Jrue Holiday, like, you have guys that can do that. Now, like you said, it was needed for him to guard Kevin Durant because they didn't have those guys. Well, they had Derek White, but, I mean, Kevin Durant is 7 foot, so they needed him to guard Durant. So I think he has that ability. But like you said, like if the problem is Jaylen Brown thinks he's the best, to me that's the issue. I don't think they can win like that because I think it has to be established Tatum is the best player because. Like you said, like Jaylen Brown can ball out. We saw in the series versus Golden State. Like he can ball out. But if Tatum is not on, you're gonna lose. So I think, and it's the same thing with KD and Russ. Like you don't have that. Like, because I agree. I think Jaylen Brown low key do think he's the best. The same way I thought Westbrook thought he was better than Durant. Mm-hmm. And to me, they were never able to get over that hump because neither one of them, or at least neither one of them, as far as like Durant or Tatum, was able to tell the other guy like, look, I'm not trying to diss you, but like. I need I need you got to play through us. Like you got to play through me. Not necessarily play through me, but more so like
I'm the guy.
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it has to be that. I don't really see this team as Jaylen Brown's team.
So I got a question for you then.
Okay.
How do you address that in the locker room? Because with the example you gave, KD and Russ, I think even maybe I don't know what Russ's state of mind was at that time,
mm-hmm.
but I think for us it's easy to say KD was the best player in that team.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Boston, to me, Tatum is so inconsistent, I don't think it's crazy for Jaylen to think he's the best player. I really don't. Like, at peak, both of them at their best, yeah, I give the edge to Tatum. Mm-hmm. But because of how inconsistent Tatum is, like, I don't look at Jaylen Brown crazy for being like, nah, it's me. Because to me, the gaps ain't big enough for that. So that's why it's like, and when you were talking about in the locker room, my question is, how do you think they address that when the talent disproportion between them isn't as clear as it can?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, so I would say this, number one. I'm not even going to go the route as far as, like, numbers and stats because Tatum's been first-team All-NBA number of years. He's been in MVP votings. Brown hasn't been in that.
That's true.
But I'm not even going to go that route. What I would say is this, number one. What's more impactful, or what's more impactful for the Boston Celtics? Brown averaging 35 a game in this series versus the Mavericks, or Tatum averaging 35? Because it's not the same 35. You're not getting a 35. The Brown's 35 is going to come from slashing, fast break, couple threes here and there. Tatum's 35 is going to be ISO. It's going to be three-point. It's going to be, free throws, getting to the basket. I think Tatum has the game of a number one option. I don't think Jaylen Brown has the game of a number one option, if that makes sense. I think Tatum's game, like his play style and his game is more geared. It's more geared as a franchise guy. Because would you say, like, I think Tatum is an elite ISO offensive player. I wouldn't necessarily categorize Jaylen Brown in that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put him in that category. I think Tatum is a better 3-point shooter than, now this playoffs might not put it together, but in the regular season as far as career, like I think Tatum's overall a better scorer. I think Brown is a better defensive player.
Right.
But I think, like I said, I just think Tatum's game is geared more as a franchise guy than Brown is.
So I agree with you in terms of the aesthetic of what you think of with a franchise player. Yeah. But I'd counter with, if we look at the X's and O's, matchups with another team, is it better to, the example you gave was Tatum is 3, isolation type of basketball.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown is slashing to the rim, hit you a couple threes here and there, catch you threes, midi, stuff like that.
Right.
Is it not better from an X's and O's perspective, a guy who's attacking, getting the other team in foul trouble? You get one of their star players on them. They can't guard them the same when they got fouls. Or a guy who, regardless of if he got Lil Kyrie on him, he gonna sidestep and take a step back 3. So I agree with you saying in terms of aura.
Yeah, but he's not
star player.
Yeah, but he's not gonna do it all the time though.
He's not gonna do it all the time.
I would say this. I guarantee you, Dallas will be fine with Jaylen Brown getting his numbers more than they will be with Jason Tatum getting his numbers. And that tells me that should tell you already who the best player is. If Jaylen Brown goes out and averages 35, I think Dallas will be cool with that. If Tatum is doing what he wants, I think it's trouble for Dallas. Now, but you can point to the game where he had when Brown had 40 and they won.
Right.
But I'm also looking like even in both of them played bad in this series versus Miami last year. But Jaylen Brown had a good series he had a good series versus Golden State, and Tatum didn't. But if I'm looking at the perspective as an opponent,
Yeah.
I'm fine with Jaylen Brown doing what he's doing. But if Tatum is out there doing what he wants, we got a problem. And I think that tells you who the best player is. Now, obviously, these NBA players, they got egos higher than Jesus. So I don't think even if Brown knew Jason Tatum was better than him, I don't think he would say that.
No.
I don't think he would say that. And honestly, I wouldn't even want him to say that. If I'm Tatum, or if I'm the organization, I want you to think that you're the number one, so you can play like the number one, because that's gonna help us. But from the grand scheme of things, like, as a team, you gotta have defined roles.
Right.
You gotta know where guys is at. Even like with the situation with LeBron in Miami, like LeBron and D Wade was in their prime. D Wade was like, yo, you gotta be the number one guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is my team. Like, I've been here all these years. I'm Wade County.
Yeah.
But in order for us to win, you gotta be that guy.
Right.
And so I do think, yes, it's everybody can have a competitive edge. Every player, it's okay for players to have egos to a certain degree.
Right.
But the more important thing is just roles. Because when you out there taking shots you're not supposed to be taking, then we got a problem, because it's like, bro, that's not your role. Now, they might not be. That's not the case for Jaylen Brown, because him and Tatum, as far as stardom, I think Tatum is a superstar. But as far as like stardom on a team, they're on the same level. So any shot that Brown takes, I wouldn't be mad, because he's there. He's a second option. He's an All NBA. He's all that too.
Yeah.
But as far as just like mindset, like it's a mindset thing to me. But even then, like I don't think, because I feel like it's a lot more people that think that Jaylen Brown is the best player on his team, and it's like, y'all weren't saying that pre Golden State versus, y'all weren't saying that pre finals. Like, they weren't saying that pre-finals. Like, it was understood that Tatum was the best player on the team, and he took them there. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, he has one bad, and it's really only, I mean, unless you have something to say or you think something different, I really don't think Tatum has had a bad playoff series like that outside of Golden State. Like, Tatum, throughout his career, has always been a good playoff performer. Like, he's had 50-point games. He's had series when he's averaged 30 and whatnot. Like, he's done that. But for some reason, and really my whole theory on it is, I think that the hate that Tatum is getting all stems from the Steph Curry hate. Because nobody wanted to see Steph Curry get that last ring. I feel like a lot of people were just praying on Curry's downfall, and then when he won it, and it was like, oh, Tatum was
your fault.
Exactly. So now, ever since then, everybody just can't let that go. That's my theory on it. I don't know if that's completely true or not, but for some guys that I have debates with who hate Tatum and who don't like Curry either, I'm just like, and I'm not even the biggest Curry guy, but I respect greatness where it is. Like, he's in top 10 conversations. He's in all that. All-time top 10. So, like, I'm just like, it's like y'all weren't really saying all this disrespect before he got to the finals, and then he doesn't play well, and it's like, oh, now he's not even the best player on his team. Like, he's not even a superstar. Like, come on now. Like, I don't know about all that.
Here's where I think that comes from. So first, I'm not even joking when I say this. He plays for Boston.
That's true.
If he played for Indiana, it'd be like, bro, look at this young cat coming up here, man. He gonna get there. We'd be like, hey, man, he gonna make the Pacers, man. He gonna bring back the Pacers. Gonna bring the championship.
No, I agree with that.
It's because it's Boston.
Yeah.
Everybody outside of Boston pretty much hates Boston.
Yeah.
Like, if you took a random poll on who you like more, L.A. or Boston, people are gonna say the Lakers outside of Boston fans.
Yeah.
Like, Philly don't like Boston.
No.
The Knicks don't like Boston. Nobody likes Boston but Boston.
Right.
So I think that's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. Two, I think it's a thing of, and I think this is probably a staple in life. Mm-hmm. When much is given, much is expected of you. Mm-hmm. So, to your point of 2018, that was his rookie year?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he got drafted in 2017.
Right. Yeah, you were here.
2018, you go to 7 East Conference Finals against Bron.
Right.
And you play pretty well. You get that poster on him, like it's like, oh, this kid nice.
Yeah.
That's your starting ground.
Right.
So now we measured everything you do from that point on, from Game 7 against LeBron James to go to the finals.
Right.
So when you starting from there, everything you do, because that's pretty much as far as you can go, other than make finals. So everything you do is now okay. Well, you got to get to the finals.
Yeah, it's graded on that.
So
yeah,
when he gets to the finals,
that's true.
It's like, and he loses to us. It's like, okay, well, when you gonna win a championship? Like he came in a very weird spot where, and Jaylen Brown kind of caught it too because he was there the year before. It was only his second season.
Yeah, right.
But it's like you did all that. All right, well now I expect you to get there. Because if he had come in on an Indiana or a bottom tier franchise like Atlanta or something like that, or Washington, and he was at the same point in his career right now, we'd be like, hey bro, he next.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we're looking at with Ant.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Minnesota hasn't done nothing in years, and I think this was Ant's third year?
Yeah, third year.
Yeah. We like, dang bro, this kid on the come up.
Yeah.
But if he had came and got drafted by Golden State,
yeah,
you know, it would have been like, all right, well, when's he going to do something?
Right.
When he going to help them win the championship?
Yeah.
So, I think it's because of the situation he was in.
Yeah.
But I do think there is some validity to the questions. Because, I mean, shoot, they did the same thing to Kobe, same thing to Bron, same thing to Shaq in Orlando. Like, when you were there and you show you're great, we expect you to show something from being great.
Yeah.
So I think it comes with the territory.
Yeah. I think a lot of criticism is fair. To be fair, I hate Boston as well, but that's just me as a LeBron fan. I don't hate this Boston team. When I say I hate Boston, it's the
franchise.
It's the 08 KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. I just hate that squad, so therefore you just have to hate Boston. But I mean, I like Tatum and I like the guys they have now. But yeah, I think it's a lot of truth to the criticism. And I think yes, it's no way if he doesn't win his finals. It's no excuse. All the hate is valid. All the hate has to come through.